puckers or pouches here are called the hostra. And again, these bands of smooth muscle you see here, in a light gray that run most of the length of the large intestine, are called tinea coli. They're also present up on the diagram. Hostra again are the pouches as a result of the partial contraction of the tinea coli. Epiploic appendages are not shown in the models, but they are there on the diagram there and also in your book. Epiploic appendages are basically just little crushes of fat that hang off the exterior wall of the large intestine. Epiploic appendages. Epiploic appendages. Again, they're not shown on the model here. Mesocolon, there's a little bit right here. This is what anchors the large intestine to the wall. Okay? Mesentery anchors the small intestine, the mesocolon anchors the large intestine. Diarrhea is a condition that you often see with GI distress, gastrointestinal distress. Irritation lining, what happens is the material moves too quickly through the large intestine, and the result is not enough water is absorbed, so you have a very fluid, liquid, or watery stool. Often seen again with gastroenteritis. The other extreme, constipation, it's moving, the material is moving too slowly through the GI tract, and the result is too much water is absorbed, and the fecal matter becomes very compact and dry, and you get constipation, making it difficult to avoid the waste material. This can be seen, for example, in a diet that has very little fiber in it. Because the fiber helps to keep the material moving through the intestine.
Too much water absorbed by what?
Pardon me? Too much water is absorbed.
Into the intestinal?
Across the intestinal wall. So if it moves too quickly, not enough's absorbed, it's a very watery stool. If it moves too slowly, too much water is absorbed, it becomes very dry and compact. That's constipation. Okay, the accessory organs. So you want to turn to page 862 in your lab manual. We're going to go over accessory organs, and the first two actually are inside the GI tract. These are the teeth and the tongue. Now the teeth, you can see there, are the ligature to narrow, the structure of the tooth, okay? Now you know the different kinds of teeth, incisors, canines, cuspids, bicuspids or premolars, and molars. I also like to know the dental form. What kind of teeth you have in both the deciduous dentition, that's so-called baby teeth, and the permanent or adult dentition. That's shown there, again, in your textbook. What kind of teeth. What you don't need to worry about is when they erupt, when they come in. Again, it varies. Okay, so structure of the tooth, type of the tooth, function of the tooth, and function of the tooth, chewing is not adequate. A little more descriptive. And also dental form. Both your adult dentition, your permanent, and your deciduous. Deciduous because they fall out. Like deciduous tree, drops its leaves, and they all grow its leaves. Okay? So those would be the baby teeth. Yes?
Are we going to have to know the age point where they would?
No, I said you don't need to worry when they erupt.
Okay.
That's when they erupt.
Just that they are deciduous because they fall out and those are baby teeth.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that varies considerably too. Depends on all type. But if you doesn't come any teeth yet. In breeds, that's good. As soon as those teeth come in, they're prone to rot. They can, especially if they put the kid together with a bottle. And especially with fruit juice, because that's laden with sugar, and you're bathing the teeth in sugar, that encourages bacterial growth and cavities.
And I've known children that actually had their baby teeth that didn't come out because they did not have an adult tooth behind it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. If you're a breastfeeding mother, you appreciate not having your teeth out. Obvious reasons. Okay? You might not chewing. Okay? You're very uncomfortable. Okay, your front teeth are your incisors, so they're chisel shaped. connections in the occlusive surface. They're called bicuspids or premolars. And they're used for grinding food in smaller pieces. Bicuspids or premolars. And the large of the two are the molars. Okay? So they too are used for grinding food in smaller pieces. And herbivorous animals, they tend to be flatter headed animals and more sharp or pointed in carnivores. Look at teeth like that, like a cat or something. Their molars are really sharp, very pointed. You don't have one, but yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there's different kinds of teeth. Now, if you look at the structure, you can see that the white material which covers the crown, by the way, the crown is the part of the tooth above the gum line. The crown is the part of the tooth above the gum line. At the gum line, there's a constricted area called the neck of the tooth. And then the part of the tooth in the socket is the root. So crown is part of the tooth above the gum line, the neck constricted area at the gum line, and then the root, part of the tooth in the socket below the gum. Gums itself, the technical name, gingiva. Somebody get the inflammation of gums, the infection, gingivitis. Now, covering the crown, this white part here, the hardest surface of the body, it's a calcified connective tissue. This is called the enamel. That's the part that covers the crown, the enamel. Unfortunately, we can't regenerate. So once it's lost, it's gone for good. You get a cavity or dental caries that erodes the enamel, it's usually replaced by some inert substance, or a fluid tube. Okay? So again, this is the crown. The part covering the crown is the enamel. The material covering the root is called the cementum. The cementum. That's the outer part of the tooth here, which covers the root. Enamel covers the crown, cementum covers the root. When you open up the tooth, you can see most of the mass of the tooth is this material here. This is called the dentin. Those kind of off-white, these striations. The dentin can be regenerated or replaced, but not the enamel. So the interior of the crown, the interior of the root material, takes up most of the mass of the tooth, that's the dentin. And again, it can be regenerated. It can be replaced. What holds the tooth in the socket is dense connective tissue called the periodontal ligament. We don't have one shown here. That's what anchors the tooth and holds it in the socket. Actually, the tooth socket are in kind of a joint, a synarthrotic joint, which means what? They're moving. That's what means, synarthrotic. Okay, then we can classify joints according to function and classification, structural classification. Function is synarthrotic, no movement. By structural classification, it is a fibrous joint. The fibrous connective tissue anchors the tooth in the socket, the periodontal ligament. It also has a fancy name. What's it called? What's the name of this joint? Tooth and tooth socket. Doncosis. Very good. The doncosis. Yeah.
Say that again?
Pardon me?
Say that word again, please?
Doncosis.
Doncosis.
Okay. No, that won't be on the table. Notice too, there is a cavity inside the crown, which continues the cavity inside the root. The cavity inside the crown is called the pulp cavity. And the cavity in the root, unfortunately, has another name. Even though they're continuous, this is called the root canal, which is also a dental procedure. got this material, which is called the pulp. This contains blood vessels, it also contains nerve fibers. The pulp cavity is found in the pulp, the pulp is found in the pulp cavity and in the root canal. Again, the pulp cavity is the cavity inside the crown, cavity inside the root is the root canal. There's an opening at the base of the root, creates the blood vessels and nerve fibers come, and that's called the apical foramen. Apical foramen. That's how the blood vessels and nerve fibers come and go to the tube. All right, lining the pulp cavity and the root canal are cells called odontoblasts. It's the odontoblasts that produce the dentin. I said the dentin can be regenerated, and it's the odontoblasts that do it. So cells that line the pulp cavity and the root canal, odontoblasts. Again, they produce the dentin. Okay? And the dentin again is produced by the odontoblasts, which are cells that line the pulp cavity and root canal. As I said, the dentin can be regenerated, but not anymore. It's the odontoblasts that do it. Okay, the tongue, of course, is also an accessory organ in the oral cavity. It's used to manipulate the food and on the food with the mass and you shut it down when you can't swallow it, shut it back in the throat. Now, on the surface of the tongue, you see these when you look at the slides tomorrow. We have papillae, different kinds of papillae. Some have taste buds embedded in them. And these are your taste receptors. It gives our four basic taste sensations: sweet, sour, bitter, salt. Salivary glands, we've got a lot of salivary glands, but the major salivary glands are the ones that are outside the oral cavity. There are three pairs of these. The largest are the carotid salivary glands. You can see one of them right here. And this is basically just inferior, a little anterior to the hip, part of the outer ear. Carotid salivary glands. We have a pair of mandibular salivary, submandibular salivary mandible. Then we have lingual or sublingual salivary glands, which are below the tongue, which we can't see up front. These are major salivary glands. All salivary glands produce saliva. Percentage of cells that we have here. We'll talk about those tomorrow. Mucus cells, serous cells, so mucus cells, serous membranes, and so on, and salivary ducts you see on the slides. As I said, by now I want you to be able to recognize blood vessels so you don't confuse them with these various ducts. So we're going to see organelles and salivary glands. What are all blood vessels? What are they lined with? Which is what kind of tissue? Simple squamous epithelium. All blood vessels. Simple squamous epithelium. Single layer of fat cells and then fat nuclei. There are salivary gland ducts and many small ducts you can see in the body, in the liver, and in the pancreas, for example, are simple pupae. And some of those larger ducts are actually stratified. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay. Gallbladder. The gallbladder is associated with the liver. The function of the gallbladder is to store and concentrate the bile. That's what this green sac is. It's the gallbladder. It stores and concentrates the bile. You can live without a gallbladder, but you have to adjust your dietary habits as a result. Because your liver produces the bile, but your gallbladder, it concentrates it, makes it much more potent. So you continue to produce bile without the gallbladder, but it's much waterier. It's not as potent. Now the bile, we mentioned, contains bile pigments, which are waste products from the breakdown of what? A non-iron portion of the heme groups. Okay? That's a waste product. And it's excreted with the bile in the small intestine and pass out in the feces. That's what gives color to the fecal matter. The other component of the bile is very important to digest your plants. These are called bile salts. Without them, you could not digest fats. We'll talk about that in lecture. The bile salts then, okay, are in the bile, and again, they're involved in fat digestion. So like I say, if you don't have a gallbladder, you continue to produce bile, but it's not as concentrated. The result is you can't eat these big, heavy, fatty meals, or you suffer GI distress. Because you're producing the bile, but it's much watery, not as concentrated. That's why you have to adjust your fat intake if you don't have a gallbladder. And the reason they take your gallbladder out is what? What sometimes happens? You get gallstones. And those gallstones can block the flow of bile, that can back up, and you end up with jaundice or various other problems. Not good.
I was gonna ask, what was the typical reason for production of a gallstone?
You get secretion of these salts, basically, and they accumulate in the ducts or the gallbladder.
Calcify.
Could be, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had kidney stones, I heard this.
Yeah, kidney stones. I've been told the kidney stones, and those are also salts of acidity, are worse than natural childbirth.
Yes, they
I don't know what
feel like
natural
you'd like to
childbirth is
die
like, but
immediately.
I've been told it's very painful, okay? Anyway. But I've been told by women who had natural childbirth, kidney stones are worse.
They are.
You know that you're passing
Been
a
there,
kidney
done
stone.
both. Yeah.
Okay? Anyway. Okay, let's look at the liver then. Now the liver has four major lobes, which I'd like you to know. The largest lobe, and by the way, the liver would be positioned in the body like this. Ignore the tumor, okay? Right lobe is the big lobe, right side. Left lobe is second largest, then you got two smaller lobes. And you can orient yourself here because you got this big blood vessel right here that runs through the liver, which runs vertically. What is that blood vessel? The what? No. Yes, inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava. Okay. All right, so this is the right lobe. This is the left lobe. Then two smaller lobes. You got to pay attention to turn over to see them all. We got this lobe right here next to inferior vena cava. That's called the caudate lobe with a C, as in cat. Caudate lobe. This lobe right here, next to the inferior vena cava. The fourth lobe, also a relatively small one, roughly rectangular here. This is next to the gallbladder, and that's called the quadrate lobe. Q, as in queen. This one, right here. Quadrate. So, caudate, next to the vena cava, inferior vena cava, and quadrate, next to the gallbladder. And of course, the big lobes, right lobe and left lobe. Okay? Those are the four lobes of the liver. So I'd like you to know. Okay. We also have some ligaments that help support the liver. The first one is right here. It's shown here in white. Okay? It also continues up here and it helps to anchor the liver to the diaphragm. But this is called the falciform ligament. It's white right here. The falciform ligament also projects out and helps to anchor the liver to the diaphragm. That's called the falciform ligament. It's actually continuous with another ligament, which we see here, which is called the ligamentum teres, or round ligament. This is actually the remnant of a fetal blood vessel, which you actually saw in the lab test. What is that fetal blood vessel that runs into the liver? What is it?
Valley, vessel valley, or amen valley.
Umbilical vein, not the artery, umbilical vein. Runs from the placenta through the umbilical cord and runs right into the liver. Remember when you first opened up that pig, I said cut that one vessel, keep it intact. You see one end ran into the liver, the other end came out of the umbilical cord. That's carrying highly oxygenated blood from the placenta to the fetus. Okay? This one right here, ligament teres. So that's the remnant of the umbilical vein in the fetus. Ligamentum teres. Okay? It's basically continuous with the ligamentum or the falciform ligament. That's called a round ligament, ligamentum teres. Okay? The lobules, we'll talk about that tomorrow. They contain what's called the choric triad, bile duct and two blood vessels. And then hepatic sinusoids, those are little canals in the, or actually capillaries in the liver. And we saw splenic sinusoids when you looked at the red pulp of the spleen, similar to what we see in the liver. Again, blood courses through it, hepatic sinusoids. We'll see that when we look at the slides. Okay. The central vein, that's where the blood drains from the hepatic sinusoids. We'll see that on the slides. Bile canaliculi, those are little tubes that collect the bile from the hepatocytes. Hepatocytes are the liver cells. Okay. Then we have macrophages of the liver, which are called Kupffer cells, that are found in those blood vessels, the hepatic sinusoids. And of course, what do they do? Yeah, they phagocytize things in the blood passing through the liver. Remember, the liver does what? It also gets rid of wild red blood cells, just like the spleen, and also a lot of debris in the blood by means of those phagocytes called Kupffer cells. Phagocytize debris in the blood. Okay, then the major blood vessels. When you look at the liver, it looks like a bunch of spaghetti, different colors. I would like you to know this stuff, right? First off, in blue are the hepatic veins or branches of the hepatic veins. As we already said, this is the inferior vena cava. The hepatic veins are draining blood from the liver into the inferior vena cava. That's these veins right here, the big ones. These are hepatic veins. All these small blue things here are branches of the hepatic veins, which are draining capillary beds in the liver. In other words, the hepatic sinusoids. So hepatic veins, again, are carrying blood from the capillaries of the liver to the inferior vena cava. That's the blue. And again, it's the big blue vessels that are the hepatic veins. Not to be confused with the hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein is an unusual vein. It drains capillaries in the GI tract wall, which is not unusual, but it feeds capillaries in the liver, which is unusual. Usually capillaries are fed by what? An artery or arterial, not a vein. So here's a vein that runs between capillaries. Capillaries in the GI tract and capillaries in the liver. So the hepatic portal vein, which is this gray one right here, is bringing in nutrient-rich blood from the GI tract. Because the liver processes a lot of things that come from the GI tract. It stores a lot of nutrients, it processes them before they go out to the rest of the body. And that's why the liver is so rich in nutrients, because it's got all sorts of stuff that has come from the GI tract. And so you try to get your kids to eat the liver, it's good for you. Okay. You would love it or you hate it, okay?
Now, so you do gray?
You have to have a taste for it, okay?
Where's the gray that you were pointing at?
The gray. The gray are branches of the hepatic portal vein. The big gray one here, number 10, that's the hepatic portal vein. Now don't confuse that hepatic veins. Hepatic veins are actually draining capillaries from the liver into the inferior vena cava. The hepatic portal vein is draining capillaries in the GI tract and feeding blood in the capillaries of the liver. Okay? This is called hepatic portal vein. And you saw it here too. Actually, that's one of the vessels last year identified, the big blue one. You put a hepatic vein, wrong. Okay, this is hepatic portal vein. There's this on your handout. Okay? Yeah, it's a gray one. Okay? Very important. Okay, the red, big red vessel is the hepatic artery, which, like most arteries, supplies oxygen-rich blood to the liver. And the small branch here would be a small branch of the hepatic artery. Okay. The green are bile ducts. They're carrying bile from the liver, produced by the hepatocytes or liver cells, and eventually that bile is going to go to the small intestine. So I'd like you to know the flow of bile. From hepatocyte, it passes through bile canaliculi, into bile ducts, which I'll show you tomorrow, then into larger and larger bile ducts, and eventually into one of two major bile ducts. Coming in from the right, this one right here, it's labeled 14. It's called the right hepatic duct. That's draining the right side of the liver, of bile. Coming in from the left is the left hepatic duct, also labeled 14. That's draining the left side of the liver, of bile. The two come together. This confluence, or where they come together, also labeled 14, is the common hepatic duct. So, right hepatic duct, right here, left hepatic duct, and common hepatic duct. common hepatic duct joins with a duct draining bile from the gallbladder, which is called the cystic duct, and it comes together to form this, which is called the common bile duct. You only see a little bit of it here. This is what actually carries the bile from the liver into the small intestine. You can see it better with this green tube right here. Okay. Let's say carrying bile from the liver, which is superior, down into the small intestine, the duodenum, the square pancreas. That's called a common bile duct. So again, the bile is picked up from the liver cells by the bile canaliculi, then into bile ducts, then into either the right or left hepatic duct, then to the common hepatic duct, then joining with the cystic duct to form the common bile duct, which carries it to the duodenum and small intestine.
Is there right and left cystic?
Right and left hepatic duct.
Yes.
And then they come together to common hepatic duct. That joins with the cystic duct. That's what drains the gallbladder.
So there's no right and left cystic?
No. And then you get the common bile duct. Okay? Okay, then on page 11, I've been through the ducts, the major bile ducts. Jaundice. Jaundice is a condition where the liver usually indicates liver malfunction. You know, back up a bile, the result is you get a yellowing of the skin or yellowing of the whites of the eyes. Usually indicates a disease condition associated with the liver. Sometimes a baby is born with jaundice. What do they normally do? What do they tell you to do?
Put them under light.
Put them under UV light or take them on the sun. Give them some UV exposure. Okay. Hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver. It can be due to chemicals, toxic chemicals, but often it's due to infection, particularly with a virus, hepatitis virus. Hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, hepatitis D, hepatitis E. There are a bunch of hepatitis viruses.
Hepatitis D.
B and E.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. My
Okay.
God.
Now, the major ones are A, B, and C, but we also have
Whoa.
D and E, which
I
are often
hadn't heard about that.
co-infections.
Do we need to know all of them?
No, you don't.
Okay.
Microbiology would be a different story.
Okay.
But hepatitis A is usually the mildest form. You can usually recover from that without any severe or permanent liver damage. Hepatitis B and C are a different story. You end up with cirrhosis of the liver. And when you're in combination with another hepatitis virus like B or hepatitis C and E, B and E, the result can be liver cancer, predisposed to liver cancer. There is a vaccine, as you know, for hepatitis A. There's also a vaccine for hepatitis B. To my knowledge, there's not yet one for hepatitis C. And B and C infections, especially in combination with hepatitis B and E, can be very severe infections and can cause permanent liver damage, cirrhosis, and predispose you to liver cancer.
So there's no cure for C, D, and E?
No. B and E are pretty mild, but when in combination with B or C, then it's
Oh.
very nasty. Okay? And where do we get these? Contaminated body fluids, blood, and various other secretions.
Yeah, I thought hepatitis A was the dirty water.
That's usually A, yeah.
A, yeah.
Because that's usually fecal contamination. Used to be called infectious hepatitis. And the other was called serum hepatitis. B or
They're
C.
all infectious, right?
What?
They're all infectious.
Yeah, they are, but
Okay.
one you got from body fluids, the other we got from usually contaminated
Okay.
water. Okay. They don't call them that anymore. Now it's just hepatitis A, B, and C. Okay. And in the 90s, a lot of people unfortunately got hepatitis C with blood transfusions. They didn't realize that some of the blood was tainted with hepatitis C.
Yeah, that was before we even knew it existed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's always a risk when you get a blood transfusion or an organ transplant of introducing an organism, microorganism, especially a virus. Always a
I don't
risk.
even know of.
Okay. Okay, cirrhosis is when you get accumulation of fibrous connective tissue, which is scar tissue. That usually indicates liver pathology. Again, you can often see cirrhosis of liver occur with infections, hepatitis B or hepatitis C. Okay, the pancreas. The pancreas, of course, you see here, between the spleen on the left and the duodenum on the right. It contains both exocrine and endocrine glands. The exocrine glands produce digestive carried by pancreatic ducts, shown here in white, into the small intestine. You have one that basically runs the length of the organ. That's called the main pancreatic duct. And a smaller one here, which also runs the small intestine, called the accessory pancreatic duct.
Show me the small one again.
The white.
Oh.
Big long one here is the main pancreatic duct. The smaller one here is the accessory pancreatic duct. And again, they're carrying secretions from these exocrine cells, largely digested enzymes. Most of the enzymes that work in the small intestine come from the pancreas. The pancreas also has some very important tissue, which is endocrine tissue. And these are called the pancreatic islets, or islets of Langerhans. Well, we don't see them here, but you'll see them on the slides. Okay? These produce hormones. Remember, endocrine tissue produces hormones. These are released not via the pancreatic ducts in the small intestine. They go into the blood, and there's several pancreatic hormones. I'm only required to know two right now. Two I'll give you later on. What are the two? Insulin and glucagon. You should know what they do. What does insulin do? It lowers glucose levels in the blood, it encourages the uptake of glucose and the formation of glycogen, which is how we store our glucose. And glucagon raises glucose levels by encouraging the breakdown of glycogen and release of glucose in the blood. So between those two hormones, insulin lowering glucose levels and glucagon raising them, you adjust your blood sugar level. People with diabetes, diabetes mellitus, with sugar diabetes, have trouble maintaining proper sugar levels. Often it's too high, and that's why they may be on insulin. And type 1 especially, they're usually injecting insulin to maintain sugar levels. And they're on a special diet because if it gets too high, you go into hyperglycemia. That can cause blood vessel damage and eventually destruction or reduced circulation in organs and organ death. And that's why sometimes uncontrolled diabetes, what happens? And particularly periphery, like the toes or the feet, or sometimes they die, the tissue dies, and you get amputations. The blood sugar is too low, you go into hypoglycemia, and you can lapse into unconsciousness, coma, and death. So if the person injects too much insulin, you go into a diabetic coma, and that can kill you. In fact, if you inject insulin into a person, a normal person, you can put them in a diabetic coma right there. Kill. Okay? Probably see these TV shows, you know. They kill the spouse with the injection of insulin. The dose is better, okay?
Exocrine and endocrine tissue.
So the exocrine tissue is that which produces the enzymes, which are secreted into the pancreatic ducts and carried to the small intestine. And the endocrine is from the pancreatic islets, or islets of Langerhans, and those are the hormones.
Okay.
Insulin and glucagon.
Endocrine hormones and exocrine.
Remember, endocrine glands are those that don't have a duct. They release hormones, usually into the blood. And exocrine are the glands with ducts. D-U-C-T-S, not D-U-C-K-S. Okay. I see that too often, ducts. Okay. I think that's it. Yep. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got, can you see where you've got pancreatic ducts? Is that just missing the main pancreatic duct from the axis?
Yeah, we can see a bunch of little ducts, okay, these little things coming up the side. No one that runs a length, that's the main pancreatic duct. This one right here is the accessory pancreatic duct.
So those two